check out ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcasts. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcasts to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
Hello and welcome again to another highly questionable work week. This is John Wiener, Stugotz on the radio. My co-host 10 to 1, ESPN Radio every day. What do you like on the show today, Stugotz?
What I like on the show today is I'm looking for the producers, the people in charge of this operation who run this show, to explain to me why I'm only getting one audition to sit in Bomani's old seats.
All right, self-absorbed as always. Dale, Papi.
Was Jay Cutler the right choice for the Dolphins? And was returning to football the right choice for Jay Cutler?
The best of bad options. I happen to believe that Jay Cutler and Colin Kaepernick are largely equal, even though, as Kean Fahey points out, Kaepernick threw fewer interceptions last year on 196 fewer attempts. So he's a more conservative passer, and Jay Cutler's best season may have been with Adam Gase, but even that season he was throwing the ball very short, very conservative, and the reason it was his best season is because he wasn't turning the ball over. My favorite part of this story, though, is the idea that Jay Cutler actually had leverage in this situation, daring the Miami Dolphins to go ahead and sign Colin Kaepernick as he tried to get the dollars up all weekend and then did get the dollars up.
I don't know if it's the right choice for the Dolphins. It's the smart and easy choice for the Dolphins. They don't have to deal with all the stuff they would have had to dealt with had they signed Colin Kaepernick. As for Jay Cutler, it's the absolute right choice. $10 million to hang out in South Beach for a year? Dan, you know something about that.
All things being equal here, this is important. All things being equal here, you take the quarterback who doesn't come with the polarizing issues. You take the quarterback who people merely think doesn't care that much about football.
Well, this is a new era for the Dolphins. Jay is coming into town. He's going to turn that franchise around. About $10 million a year. They got a bargain with Jay Cutler. I'm telling you, he has a strong arm. He's going to go deep. He's going to scramble out of the pocket. He's going to be, right there with this guy, Adam Gase. I'm telling you, they're going to be two of a kind. Huh? That's right, Adam Gase. Head coach of the coach. That's right, Gase. That's it. A name that you'll never forget from now on. It's going to be known in the NFL as the man that is going to make it happen. What's good for the geese is good for the gander.
Really? Oh, my God. For the love of God.
Yeah.
Well said.
Oh, I mean, it is.
Oh, just shut up, the both of you. Let's move on.
Who do you believe the Dolphins gave the most consideration to? Colin Kaepernick, Tim Tebow, or Kyle Orton?
Oh, boy.
Look, I know it was a Miami Herald report, and I worked for the Miami Herald for many years, made my bones at the Miami Herald, but I refuse to believe that the Dolphins actually considered Tim Tebow in the same breath that they considered Colin Kaepernick. And another one making an appearance that isn't even mentioned here is the idea of Christian Ponder. How many starting quarterbacks are going to have to get injured? How many Kyle Ortons and Christian Ponders are we going to have to go through before Colin Kaepernick gets his just rewards and gets to play ahead of guys that he's clearly better than?
Two, we think, we hope, maybe, perhaps. I have no idea. But it is interesting. I so wish the story went this way because heads would have exploded. I so wish the Dolphins they didn't go with Jay Cutler. I so wish they went with Kyle Orton over Colin Kaepernick. Can you imagine the discussion today if the Dolphins announced their quarterback was Kyle Orton and they chose him over Colin Kaepernick?
You can make an argument for Jay Cutler. It's hard to make an argument for any of these other guys that we're talking about over Colin Kaepernick.
But what happens if Cutler gets hurt?
Well, that's what we need to root for now. We need to root for an Andrew Bogut situation with the Miami Dolphins where Jay Cutler gets his $10 million for 10 minutes of work, and then they have to make this decision again.
Well, my sources, they tell me of another name that you guys are skipping.
Who's that?
Juanito Football. Johnny Football. That's it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
He was in the mix. He was in the mix.
I mean, you don't know that he wasn't.
Right.
Once Tebow's in the mix, anybody can be, right?
Is Greg Schiano telling the truth when he says Ohio State's D-line is better than the one he had coaching the Bucs?
It was a pretty miserable experience for Greg Schiano with the Bucs. He got criticized for all sorts of things, including that ridiculousness that he would have his D-line do at the end of lost football games where he'd have them attack the center and the quarterback when they were trying to kneel. But if you consider that Ohio State has 2 potential first-round picks who aren't yet first-round picks, you're still not in a place where you have anybody as good as Gerald McCoy, the guy that he had plugging up the defensive line at the center when he was the coach of the Tampa Bay Bucs.
This is in my wheelhouse, asking me whether or not a guy is lying or not. And I will tell you that Greg Schiano is absolutely lying. There is no chance that he is telling the truth. And what he's doing is he's defending how lousy of a job he did when he was with the Buccaneers by pointing out that his defensive line wasn't as good as a college team's defensive line.
Yeah, good point by Stugotz. I've been checkmated. He's right about that.
Greg Schiano, he's lucky he got that job at Ohio State. I'm surprised that he got that job.
Also, my father telling no lies. I mean, you would say that is the most accurate thing said during this entire segment, what my father just said. I came in 3rd place on this segment in terms of truth telling.
Does losing his final race change the way you remember Usain Bolt?
Usain Bolt is exceptional no matter how many races he loses at the end because maybe he didn't train perfectly or maybe he's a little bit injured. I will tell you that all you need to know about this is that Justin Gatlin finally beat Usain Bolt and at the end of that race was still waiting and bowing for him at the finish line. Instead of experiencing joy, what he was doing is worshiping the guy who's the best we've ever seen in that sport.
What have you done for me lately, Dan? And Usain Bolt lost his last race.
All right.
That's all I remember.
All right,
Usain Bust is what I call him now.
Okay, very good. Totally reasonable. No perspective whatsoever. The last thing that happened is the only thing I'll remember because my memory is light.
You know, my sources, they told me that the reason that he lost was he had too much fun the night before. You know, London is a swinging town. He spent all night up, you know, I mean, drinking and enjoying himself and what have you. And when he got to the track, he didn't know what to do, really.
Okay,
Himself, you know?
very good. My father's now got track and field sources. Track and field sources.
That's what my sources, they say. They are very reliable sources, you know. They have been right on the...
Okay, you see, I think he's been exposed as a total fraud because he didn't have anything when it came to his sources.
Could the Dodgers be the best baseball team of your lifetime?
Sure. Sure. I mean, they're really good. They beat everybody and they haven't lost in a really long time. Okay, good enough to be one of the best teams I've ever seen. I mean, they could be. Yes, they could be is the answer to the question.
Well, when you put the question like that, you're right, Dan. I'm going to defend you here. Could they be the best baseball team of all? Sure. They could be. The impressive part about this is they're doing it right now without Clayton Kershaw. Like, that guy's coming back, and that guy might be the best pitcher in the history of baseball.
Yes, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he's been out. Think about that for a second. Usually, you lose a guy like that for a little while, you start losing, not them.
I don't really know what hell is going on with the Dodgers, you know. I mean, they played too late for me on the West Coast, you know. They tried to throw the first pitch and full sleep, you know what I mean?
Okay. All right. The analysis is not quite as informed as ours, but it's just as good.
Coming up next on Highly Questionable.
I love our show so much. Which way this gonna fall?
Whoa!
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, you know, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Time to play the game that just got the Valerian Steel silverware set. Do you question?
You give us topics and events, we question them.
Do you question this kid's birth certificate?
All right, we're going to check in here with Jace Blaylock. This was amazing announcing because they said right before he came up here that this is a kid who could hit it into the trees. Right before this at-bat that we're about to show you. Look at where the trees are.
That'd be amazing.
And
there you go.
The part that was amazing is them saying this is a kid who could hit it into the trees.
It's in the trees.
And it's like watching Aaron Judge play against these kids. I mean, how large is this kid? And it's not, you don't need to check his birth certificate. Just go ahead and look at the car he drove to the game. Just look at the car and you will know that this kid, I know he is actually of age, but there's no way a kid of that age should hit that ball that far.
I feel like he went out for beers to celebrate after the game as well.
You know, that pitcher, he grooved that pitch. You know, come on, kid, you gotta do better than that. You know, you gotta work the outside corners. You know, you go with the breaking balls. You know, you gotta fool the batter. You just can't throw him that fat pitch right down the middle of the plate.
Everyone knows that, 12-year-old. If you want to get the 24-year-old out, you gotta bite the corners.
That brings back all memories.
Of?
When I used to coach baseball, I had a couple of guys that they were over the age limit, and I always found a way to you know,
get them in the lineup.
Yeah,
Fudge versus
it can be done. It can be done at the right price. It can be done,
especially here in Miami. Yeah, you can get it done at like a warehouse.
That's right. That's the way you do it if you want to win a championship. Do you question if these are good friends?
Oh, boy.
This is always a good video. All right. Are these friends good friends who allowed this guy to do this? I don't know what this is. Oh!
Wow.
I mean, I do feel like that's what the friends were rooting for.
Man.
Yeah, he's not moving and you're still laughing. I mean, yeah. The answer to this question is, of course, those are good friends. That's exactly what any good friend in that situation would do. Once you've gotten to the portion of the bicycle over the incredibly thin log, the only good outcome there for your friends is to be able to laugh at you.
Those aren't good friends. Those are great friends. By the way, did you notice the friend who was feeling his pain? It didn't actually happen to him, but there was a friend who rushed to his assistant.
Just holding himself. We were all doing that, weren't we?
Yeah.
Well, not all of us. All of us of a certain gender.
That was bad, but it could have been worse.
Really? How much worse could it have been? Oh, we've got a whole montage of bicycle accidents? Okay, this is always the best part. Yeah. Wow. This is where we do our good work. This is where we earn our money around here. Yes.
No.
Stugotz is seeing these all for the first time. We are all enjoying this for the 10th and 11th time. My father does this anytime there's a bicycle accident on the show.
That's just dumb. I'm sorry.
Oh, good God.
Oh, man.
This is one of the best ones right here. Helpful arrow. Helpful arrow.
Oh.
I love that arrow so much. The optimism in it. The optimism in that arrow.
You're going to fly.
Do you question the camera person's reaction?
This is what we exist for. Let's see what we've got here. I love our show so much. Which way is this going to fall?
Whoa!
Oh, dear God! Oops, no, that's the entire appropriate reaction. Yeah. Yeah.
Oops, oh man, wow.
I mean, yeah. No, that's perfect reaction from the cameraman. It's what we were all thinking, put into very short, efficient syllables.
But it was very casual, the oops, the oh no, the wow.
Yeah,
I would have been freaking out. He was very casual, calm, that guy.
Oh, there were a bunch of rookies cutting that lumber, you know. You knew that they were not experts. They were just rookies, you know. You could tell it the way that lumber fell, you know.
Bobby, when's the last time you used a saw of any sort? I've never used one in my life, not once. When have you used one?
Well, I don't have to use a saw to make a determination that they were rookies. I mean,
okay, they're rookies. They're clearly rookies.
I mean, he's right.
No, he's right about that. He's right. He doesn't need to be an expert to know that that's not the way it's supposed to go.
I mean, you gas bag on baseball and stuff all the time. When's the last time you played
That's the worst possible outcome.
Probably the owner of the house thought that he was getting a hell of a deal, you know.
Right.
Hell of a deal. He got that lumber down cheap,
That's
you know.
what you get, homeowner, for going cheap on the tree cutters.
Do you question if this would be relaxing?
I'm going to tell you the absolute truth about something that just happened before this question. The producers only gave us the information. This is about a mannequin. And my father said, a Dominican? And Stugotz said, no, a mannequin. And my father said, oh, American. No, a mannequin. This is about a mannequin. See, it's not a real person up there on the drone. There's a hammock on a drone, and it looks like a real person, and that would be amazing, but a drone can't do that with a real person. A mannequin, not an American mannequin, not a Dominican mannequin, a mannequin weighs a lot less than a human being.
It does look relaxing. I've often thought to myself, like, being a mannequin would be awfully relaxing. Like, yes, it would be. No, it'd be a great life. Like, I know you're not technically alive, but it would be a nice, relaxing life.
It wouldn't be a great life. It would just be a lazy life where you don't do anything. I've often thought to myself, what a relaxing life mannequins have.
I have. I often think, and dogs. Like, dogs. Dogs have a great life.
No, dogs have a great life. Mannequins don't have a life. They're mannequins.
Yeah, but they don't have any of the daily stresses and pressure. They don't get married. Like, none of that stuff.
They don't have responsibilities.
Yes.
I think that the viewers probably wish you were a mannequin.
A laughing mannequin. We pull a string and it just laughs when we want it to. Ready? Watch. Here, look. See, it works pretty well.
Highly questionable is broadcast from the Clevelander Hotel on beautiful South Beach, Miami. Time to play the game that has a strong claim for the Iron Throne. See? Or no?
You tell us what's on television tonight. We'll tell you if we're intrigued.
On Masson, Marlins and Nationals.
No, thank you. But let's check in with the Marlins this last weekend against the Braves. They lost 2 of 3. Marcell Ozuna hit a home run, and Brandon Phillips, he plays third base now, and he's a Brave now if you didn't know it. Look at what he does at third base.
Ozuna gets a breaking ball.
Wow, that got out.
Deep left field. Inciarte back at the wall, and it's gone. And Marcell
what
Ozuna
happens here with Brandon Phillips? How did that ball go out? I thought he got jammed.
The first runs the entire series, not driven in by Giancarlo
Stanton. There it is.
Stanton.
Brandon Phillips throwing dirt in his face. That seems to be one of the unwritten rules was fractured there, unless you're friends, in which case you could do whatever you want in that circumstance. Stugotz, are you intrigued?
I am not intrigued. I will not be watching that game. Like you, I am just learning that Brandon Phillips is still playing Major League Baseball.
Third base for the Braves. Who knew? Papi, are you intrigued?
Oh, see, I'm very intrigued. Listen, Ozuna, I'm telling you something, buddy. I think that you gotta do something about that. You can't let this guy throw dirt in your face like that. What you gotta do is that you gotta go home. You gotta touch home plate. You gotta make sure that those 3 runs they count. Then you gotta go to the dugout, go to the bat rack, grab the biggest bat in that rack, and go after that guy on third base. Start swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging, and you beat the out of that guy. So make sure he doesn't do it again.
On TV in South Korea, The Infinite Challenge.
Good distinction you're making there between South Korea and North Korea. This is probably not something that would be happening in North Korea, although maybe if Dennis Rodman goes to visit his good friend, then maybe. But here's Steph Curry in South Korea. A variety show of some sort. That is a 8-foot Steph looking to block that shot right there unsuccessfully. Shooting over the 8-foot Steph, who, it's got to be noted, does not have a lot of good lateral foot movement. Neither does this guy with the 100 hands. I do believe basketball would be more entertaining next season as the Warriors are steamrolling everybody if we threw a couple of those kinds of things into the league. Stugotz, are you intrigued?
I don't know. What time is it in South Korea? Like, what's the time difference? How do I watch this thing? Like, I don't understand how this thing works. But listen, this is what's becoming clearer and clearer. The master plan of Steph Curry. He's out playing golf on the web.com tour. He is taking shots over 8 feet tall Steph Curry's. He's not doing anything. He's not playing basketball, and he doesn't have to, and that's why he signed Kevin Durant.
Papi, are you intrigued?
Oh, see, I'm very intrigued. When LeBron sees that big inflated Steph Curry, that guy can block shots. He can protect the rim. He can go any place he wants to go. He probably that's the playmaker that LeBron has been looking for all this time,
Yes.
That's right, buddy. Yes. He's come that good, but you make sure I get that guy.
I'll stay in Cleveland. There, yes, open your wallet and sign that guy. I'll stay in Cleveland.
That's right.
Dan, I've always wanted to play with that guy. Sign him to a max deal.
Well, he did the same thing with Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, well, Bogut. Yes. They did the same thing with Bogut. Tristan Thompson occasionally would get a rebound, but they did the same thing with Bogut.
Right, but in terms of commissions, like LeBron James next year is going to make more money off the Cavs than Dan Gilbert will off the Cavs.
On ABC, the finale of The Bachelorette.
The finale? The Bachelorette. Are you kidding me?
The big one.
That's a big one. This is for all the marbles.
It really is.
That's it. We have been waiting all these years.
Oh, shut up.
I didn't come here to date.
Rachel has 1 rose.
I want a proposal.
For 3 men.
But I'm more confused than ever.
Brian.
I will spend the rest of my life loving you.
Eric.
It's time to get engaged.
Peter.
I'm in love with you.
But you don't know what you want to do.
But how?
You sounded so good, but I didn't believe it.
Will.
I have strong feelings for you.
It.
She is the word.
And
I pray he will be asking for my hand in marriage.
Stugotz, are you intrigued?
I am intrigued. I am watching this. I've watched the entire season. Eric is my pick to win the entire thing. He is the front runner tonight. Papi, you intrigued?
Oh, see, I'm very intrigued. I'm telling you something. She can't make up her mind. She's confused. You know, it's going to be hell of a race now. You know what I mean? I don't know who's going to win tonight, but I'm telling you something. She's really confused. You know, This team might just go forever now. You know, she won't be able to make up her mind.
End
for
the
years
show
and years
already.
And
I promise you, whoever wins going to break up with her inside of 3 weeks.
End the show.
Guaranteed. Book it.
Hey, you left the table. Your word doesn't count here anymore. You know, you don't get to decide when you finish this thing. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for watching.
You can all go to hell. Not you, listeners. Those two guys and the producers.
It's you and me, Stu.
Adios, amigos.
Gracias. Come on. Great show, Stu.